Bonjour, je me présente, mon nom est Julie Cyr et je serai votre animatrice. Je suis la gestionnaire des services à la petite enfance avec l'Ottawa Carleton District School Board. J'ai le plaisir d'être votre animatrice de cette série de vidéos qui mettent en valeur la sagesse de Dre Jean Clinton, psychiatre pour les enfants et défenseuse de la profession des éducatrices et éducateurs de la petite enfance. Lorsque nous réfléchissons à la profession des EPEI, il est difficile de nier que les dernières années ont été ardues. L'impact se ressent à travers la province. Par ailleurs, nous avons démontré que notre profession est importante et apporte une valeur significative pour les enfants, leurs familles et la société. Écoutons donc Dr. Clinton, qui nous décrit quelque chose dont vous n'êtes peut-être pas au courant. Comment tout ceci a un impact sur vous et votre cerveau?
I love the brain because it is so full of potential. Our brains are an expression of our experiences. And you know, you've heard me talk before about children's brains, but in this module, we're really going to focus on your brain. That your brain is being changed by the experiences that you have. Your work is changing your brain. The joy of being with the children and the play is changing your brain. And that there are things that you can absolutely do to lead to a healthy brain by emphasizing the positives and pushing down, pushing back, mitigating the negatives.
Dans la vidéo Ton bien-être au travail, Dr. Clinton parle du rôle des déclencheurs en relation avec un traumatisme et le stress toxique. Elle ne parlait pas au sujet des enfants, mais plutôt au sujet de nous, comme individus, comme EPEI. Parce que les résultats de traumatismes passés ont un impact à notre vie de tous les jours et notre travail, tel qu'indique Dr. Clinton. Je vous invite à songer au sujet de vos déclencheurs potentiels et comment chacun de vous les ressentez.
Here's what I remember learning as I was becoming a psychiatrist. And that is, one of my teachers said, if you ever feel a huge reaction coming over you and you don't know where it came from and you think it's somebody else, it's not. It's your own stuff. And so triggers are things that activate our system into being more on guard, being more alert. What they feel like for different people is very different. So for me, when I have a trigger happening, I get red or hot in my face, my stomach may be a bit churny, I absolutely get my shoulders tight, and you know, I know other people whose voices raise, and other people, the things come out of their mouth that they said would never ever come out of their mouth. Where is that coming from? That's coming from deep inside our memories and our limbic system. We're going to talk more about that coming up. But why is it so important that I bring this to you? Our nervous system, like our body, all the connection between our brain and our body and our gut, all of that is wired up for us to be on survival mode. Together, we're going to look to help you identify what are your triggers, where do they come from, identify them and take action. Because you know what? When you name them, then you can claim them, and when you can claim them, then you can tame them.
Vous avez certainement entendu lors des dernières années beaucoup d'informations sur les traumatismes. Notre profession repense à nos pratiques avec une optique informée sur le traumatisme. Encore une fois, Dr. Clinton nous rappelle de prendre cette optique et de la placer sur soi-même. Avez-vous identifié et pensé à vos propres traumatismes? Et comment ceux-ci peuvent avoir un impact sur vous et votre travail?
It's really important to think about, well, where do triggers come from? They come from memories. They come from memories, not just memories in the brain, but also memories in the body. The body remembers, it keeps the score. And one thing I want you to really think about is the fact that not all bad things that happen to you lead to you being triggered about it afterwards. But there are some things that can happen to you that lead to you being more traumatized by it. And by traumatized by it, I mean that you're overwhelmed, that you don't have the resources around you at that moment to be able to do something about it. In the brain, we know that that's your amygdala firing, and deep inside the brain, all kinds of chemicals going, saying, watch out, is it going to happen again? But you know, when we look and see how common is that response, we see that it's likely happening, yes, for you, but also for your colleagues, for your parents, as well as you see it in the kids. Now, adults may be aware of it, but they may not be aware of it. And so what does it mean? Well, first of all, it means we need to treat all people with kindness. We need to be asking ourselves, not what's wrong with you, but what has happened to you, and what can I do to help you? And so that really needs to be turned inside as well. That really needs to be turned inside, that you give that kind of kindness to yourself, to have self-compassion. You know, there is not a single brain cell that gets changed for the positive when you beat yourself up or shame yourself. Shaming doesn't change your brain for the good at all. In fact, shaming turns off the parts of the brain that are going to help you get through it. So what we are learning now, and I really hope that you take the time to think about, is that when you have positive supports in place, somebody who's in your corner, somebody who is there for you, these support systems make all the difference in neutralizing some of the effects of these adverse things that might have happened. So you're not alone. Don't stay alone. Reach out to others. Reach out to your colleagues. Reach out to those around you who you recognized have your best interests in mind.
Soyez bienveillant et faites preuve de compassion envers vous-même. Développez un système d'appui afin de ne pas être seul. Ce sont seulement quelques méthodes pour vous aider à votre cerveau au travail. Soyons honnêtes. Notre travail peut être stressant. Pensez à ce qui vous stresse au travail. Est-ce que c'est toujours là? C'est à court terme? Est-ce que c'est intense? En réalité, il y a des différents genres de stress. Il y a même un certain niveau de stress qui est bon pour le cerveau et d'autres, non.
We know we all get stressed, and stress is in fact good for us in many ways. There's positive stress that kind of gets you activated to do things and get up out of bed, and stress in and of itself teaches our body how to adjust to different physiology going on. The stress we worry about, though, is called toxic stress, and that is when that stress response system where the amygdala is firing and you release adrenaline and cortisol, when that doesn't get buffered by nurturing, responsive relationships. What we've found is that there are long-term impacts if that goes on and on and on. And that means the intensity of that toxic stress has a huge impact on not just the moment, but also on the physical nature of your immune response, as an example, of your reactivity to stressor in the environment. So what we know underneath the skin then is that the amygdala, that fight or flight area or network of neurons and brain cells that are involved in it, it gets wired up when there has been trauma, when there has been toxic stress. And what happens in the brain is it releases adrenaline and it releases cortisol, and all of that is to make you ready to be safe, to make you ready to run, to be falling asleep, to make looking like you're dead or something if there's a bear comes in the room. But what can happen is if you still have to function, the amygdala kind of hijacks your thinking brain. And so you're not able to process new information. You're not able to problem solve as well. So what can we do about an amygdala hijack? Well, the very first thing is what we've already talked about, and that is to know yourself. To start becoming more aware of, am I breathing faster here? Is my voice changing? Am I saying things that I would never ordinarily say? All of them are cues to you that toxic stress may be acting. So what can you do? Notice. You can breathe. Remember, we talked about grounding techniques. Be more aware. Think of, look and notice 5 things around you that you can see. Notice 3 things that you can smell. What we know about how you can shift your pattern of stress from being highly vulnerable because it's chaotic, it's coming out of nowhere, you don't know anything about it, is to bring it over to a pattern where it's more predictable, where you have more routine, where you're making sure that you're getting the sleep that you need. You're not staying up all night watching terrible news and all of that thing. You're getting your sleep. You're getting out and you're exercising. You're learning about your calm. You're finding where that calm place is. Another really important thing is getting together with others. We know that when people have collaborated together, like in communities of practice, over these past couple of years that have been so difficult, they have felt more resilient. When you have reached out in gratitude to someone and said, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you've turned up. All of these things make a huge difference on your ability to neutralize that toxic stress. By the way, your presence, your loving kindness towards the kids and the families and your colleagues also helps to neutralize those toxicity. So who you are is more important than what you do. If you can name that stressor, then you can tame it. And when you can tame it, then you can claim it and say it's part of me, but it's not in charge of me.
En tant que professionnels dans le domaine de la petite enfance, nous passons beaucoup de temps et d'énergie sur le développement du cerveau des enfants à qui nous sommes responsables. C'est commun pour chacun de négliger le nôtre. En prenant le temps de réfléchir sur nos propres cerveaux, comment notre cerveau est impacté par notre travail? Comment pouvons-nous le renforcer et l'appuyer? C'est crucial et important pour nous sur nos relations et pour notre travail. Dr. Clinton nous ramène au point de départ.
How can I deal with the situation that I'm in, that I can bring my brain, my heart, my wholeheartedness to what I'm doing? You know, there's lots of things that we can talk about that are problematic, but how about we think in terms of what are the opportunities? Why do I say that? Because where you focus your attention has a huge impact on your resilience, your ability to bounce back. So if you think, I can be the master, the mistress of my course and how I experience my day, then you can feel positive, then you can feel hopeful. And how you can act is be open to the awe and the joy of spending time in your places of work. That positivity literally changes the brain. Now, I'm not talking about just think nice thoughts, honey, and then everything will be okay. No, I'm talking about deeply and profoundly thinking about what is the good that I can bring to myself and to the world around me and the children, family, and colleagues. You know, I remember learning about bravery as a teaching from Tom Porter, a Mohawk elder. And I was so impressed with that, and I thought, you know, for here, for our world, for our days, for your work, it requires bravery. It requires that you really examine and take risks and challenge and say, we are going to make the best world possible for all of us. So that means that we need to be developing an attitude of gratitude, because you sure as heck can get beaten down by the other. An attitude of gratitude changes your biology. It changes your way of viewing the world when you fill it with taking in all of the awesome work and joy that children are full of, the love. Love literally builds the brain.
L'amour développe le cerveau. Nous pouvons exprimer cet amour pour soi-même et pour qui nous prenons soin avec compassion, courage, gratitude et sensibilité. Merci d'avoir écouté cette vidéo. Je suis votre animatrice Julie Cyr. Soyez à l'affût du deuxième vidéo de cette série avec Dre Jean Clinton, Ton bien-être au travail.